This is Start, Grow, Manage, where we help managed service providers achieve the impact, freedom, and wealth you imagined back when you started your company. At Start, Grow, Manage, our tools, practices, and processes help you engage, energize, and execute on building a business that empowers an extraordinary life. Learn more about our programs and how they can fuel your fire at startgrowmanage.com/learn more. Let's go.
Joe, have you ever heard of the California Gold Rush? People have talked about it before, right? Like
Just a little bit.
I'm from
I
California.
watch Bugs Bunny.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm glad we got it to your level, Joe. Down to the Bugs Bunny level. Yeah.
Yosemite Sam?
Yosemite Sam was
Yeah.
here. My
Yeah,
mine is not allowed in Yosemite. I just want to make sure that's clear for everybody. It's actually protected space. But anyway, what I was gonna say, you know who made money out of the gold rush?
I don't know. The guys who made the little strainers or the show.
Close. That was one of the things that they made. But the point of it wasn't the miners, right? The one who made money was actually John Sutter. And Sutter's Fort is in Sacramento. And everybody would go to Sutter's Fort and they would buy their little pans and their shovels and their picks and their Levi's jeans. And then they would head back up into the hills to go prospecting. And he's the one who made all of the money because everybody had to buy a shovel and only a few people ever actually found gold, right? And it is interesting to me. I love these businesses that are shovel type businesses, things that are just important, a little bit under the radar. You don't necessarily think of it as, oh, this is a sexy business over here. It's just a business that makes money. It's like over time. And when we talked to Mitch Kranitz today, I think what's interesting is they do printers, right? And they took that thing that everybody hates. Again, we come back to the process of, I'm going to find something that's painful, that hurts, and that thing that everybody hates. And they took it out of your life, and then they manage that whole thing, and then they pay you money for the opportunity to do it, right? Well, if you're the MS, obviously the client pays money. But the point is, they take the whole hassle of printers out of the MSP life. They take care of the whole thing rather than making it hard for the MSPs to do printing, which to me feels like a shovel business.
The thing that MSPs hate the most is printers. I can't think of something that you dislike more than a printer when you're an MSP because nobody wants to do it. If you're a small MSP, the owner is the one that ends up doing it all the time because
Always.
none of their techs want to touch any of that stuff, right? It's like printers. I don't know what that is. I don't know how that works. Why do they print? They're a law firm. They have to print. No, why am I everything's digital? Why are they print?
Yeah. So somebody said to me, millennials don't print. No, sorry. Millennials print. All right. So let's just get over this. There are times when you got to print stuff out. And guys, when we say digital business, see, this is what the new generation doesn't get. Now I'm going to be like the old crotchety man. We used to have like rooms filled with filing cabinets with tons of files, right? So that's
the rooms.
Used to be like, and now it's digital, which doesn't mean that everything's digital, but it does mean that we don't have rooms filled with file cabinets anymore. We just print it out when we need it, which brings us right back to printers and the fact that the more digital you are, the more important it is to have a printer. So no, you do have to have a printer. So stop.
I agree. But this is what happens. What happens is that those technicians don't want to go out there. They don't want to touch it. And so having a partner that comes and takes all that pain away for you and gives you money, very cool.
Yeah. So when I found that, I thought, okay, we got to talk to him and see if this is for real. Right. So we're going to have a chat with Mitch. And I think he's a really interesting guy. He started 2 different MSPs in 2001 and then another one later, 2007. Started first Break Fix and then going into the MSP space. Right. So managing that transition. So it's interesting to hear sort of his stories around that. And he's very familiar with that challenge that I think everybody faces, is that how to hire and manage demand, because you need labor, but you don't necessarily need it all the time. So how do you hire people and manage that level of employment and align it with the level of revenue? And I think what we're learning is that one of the key ways to do that is really to outsource a significant part of what you do, right?
Yeah.
And to find those opportunities to outsource and to take things that are fixed, painful costs and turn them into variable costs, or in this case, revenue. So you move from, I hate printers, I have to hire people to do printers, I never make any money off of printers, to, and now I'm going to make a little bit of money off of printers. But more importantly, even than the money you're getting, you're not bogging your people down with that. And so they're able to work on your core product.
Yeah. And your clients are happy, and you're not risking losing clients because another MSP that does printers is doing the printers for you. So there's all of that.
But I just keep coming back to this idea of outsourcing, because we have the same thing when we talk about places like Field Nation. This outsourcing and this thinking of, how can I take something that's a fixed cost, like the people that I'm going to hire, and it becomes so fixed? How do you take that and turn that into a more variable way of working, which is crucial to growing a business, finding ways to get revenue without adding to your fixed cost base.
That's good. And you could look in a whole bunch of different places for that.
So let's have this conversation with Mitch. And I definitely think that the idea of how to take printing out of the equation is a good one. And then we'll see if we can get someone from Field Nation to come chat with us as well and talk a little bit about how you can use their labor to grow your MSP. Sound good?
Cool. Yeah. Let's do it.
All right. Without further ado, let's move on to Mitch and the print partner at Green Office Partners. Mitch, welcome to the Start, Grow, Manage podcast.
What have you been up to? What's going on with you? I haven't seen you in a bit.
I haven't started a new venture like you have since last we talked, but just staying busy, juggling all the great things that life has to offer, and just feeling grateful for the opportunity to do it all.
Awesome. Awesome.
What are the great things you're juggling at the moment?
We just got back from Morocco. We were there for 2 weeks.
Oh, that sounds like a great thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
You went to
Pretty-
Morocco and you didn't call me? What?
Yeah.
You know, I did, but your assistant told me you were doing podcasts, so we would have had you.
So how was
that-
Morocco? Tell us about that.
It's real eye-opening. It's the furthest outside of like my personal comfort zone that I've ever been in travel before, because it was just so different from anything that we experience here in the States or in Canada or in a lot of Europe. It's beautiful. The people are incredibly warm and welcoming. The food's fantastic. There's just a whole different vibe that just took some time for me to allow it to sink in. And after I did, it was pretty fantastic. It felt good. It felt like I was allowing myself to just tap into another culture. I was in the middle of the desert. It's a massively powerful sight to behold.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like being in the
Very
middle of the
cool.
ocean. There's this, I don't know, you get how infinitesimally small you are. When
When you're standing in the middle of the desert?
I used to go on cruises, and you're in the middle of the ocean, and every direction you're looking, it's just water. It's the same thing in the desert.
Well-
Every direction you look at, it's just sand, and you're tiny.
Yeah, but see, if you're on a cruise, you're on a big cruise ship. I had that experience on this little sailing boat, right? Where there was like a group of 4 of us on a, I don't know, I'm gonna lie if I know how many feet, like 20 feet or whatever, but it was like your standard sailing boat with a couple of sails and 4 places to sleep. And so we were sailing for a couple of days. And you really feel isolated when you're out there in the middle of nowhere. You don't have anybody to talk to. There's no music. There's no buffet. You know?
There's no stopping off on the side of the road.
You better know where you're going, because you realize all of a sudden that the ocean is a really big place and that island that you're heading to is a really small. So please let the GPS go in the right direction. What if they flip the GPS tomorrow and then it's like all of a sudden everything's wrong? And you're like, oh my God.
Better have a compass, buddy. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but you know what? It's interesting. You don't really do that anymore. Like, it's all GPS. It's all electronic. I don't even know if
Yep.
we had paper charts. It's not
100% faith in
you know?
Yeah.
faith in your
See,
technology.
100%.
I'm old school. When I go really camping, I always have a map and I always have a compass, because you know I love my phone and all that stuff. But if I'm
But
really
camping, yes. But when you're out at sea,
yeah,
it's a difference. You don't have landmarks.
Did you watch
So-
Moana? If you watch Moana, then you got it.
yeah.
You don't need a map.
Clearly, I'm not up on the right technology of it, but I'll watch Moana, get my education.
That is exactly what you have to do.
The other problem is you can only get your longitude during the day and your latitude at night. You're always guessing, which anyway.
Oh man, you're a step ahead. I didn't even know that.
No, I know how to navigate. I just know that we didn't do it. We talk about this with our clients. There is a difference, Mitch, between knowing the theory of something and actually being able to put it in practice. So
GPT's taking that into full effect. We got people who know how to write articles and people who know how to write music and people that know how to dig deep and do that. But now we're able to offload it to ChatGPT.
You know what I find interesting about ChatGPT? That you can't get really insightful writing from ChatGPT. It's all derivative. But the code, I was just playing over the weekend. I'm like, how could I create a website where our virtual assistants could type in an email, type in their response? I want to say no to this person, and then click a button and get ChatGPT to spit it out. So I went to ChatGPT and I said, write me a website that does this. And so it did. It said, you need to sign up for this API. You need to do this. This is how you set it up. I put it in, and there you go. It's done.
Yeah. I read in New York Times had an article about the 24 ways ChatGPT is being used. And the ones that was most remarkable was that it was being used to model components that are being used to support spaceflight. They said that the complexity and the results are tremendous, that even though like they end up with this final result of something that is highly effective and able to support their need, and it's super lightweight and this and that, they said that their own tools couldn't, and their own skill sets could not have conceived or modeled what ChatGPT came up with.
Yeah.
Like, how does that even happen?
Its ability to crunch massive amounts of data, right? Like it's taking so much information and doing something with it in a way that we just can't replicate with our brain. We're still smarter, but we still can't.
We're smarter, but we can't replicate it. Is the ability to compute mass amounts of data at this time that we just don't have because we don't have all the data.
But I wanted to learn a little bit about Mitch and what you're up to. I know we met a bit earlier, but I think it's really interesting how you're in the print space.
Interesting is one way to put it. I thought it was the worst decision I could have made when I first started. It was the last place I ever wanted to be.
When I started in IT, it was the one thing you never touched was the printers. You're like, no, we will cover everything. We will do anything. We will reprint chips for you. Change your light bulbs. We're not doing printers. So how did you're like, oh, I know what I'll do is I'll take the ugly stepchild and go right for it.
Yeah. I'm just going to embrace it and hold it gently in my lap. It's funny. Actually, I was an MSP for 20 years. I built and sold 2 MSP. And I tell you, I could have used you guys way back in the day because everything on your website hits me like square in the chest. It's like, oh, I was that classic engineer turned business owner.
Yeah.
I had all the chops. I happened to be social enough and charismatic enough that I could convince people that I knew what the hell I was doing. I grew up in the era of fake it till you make it, and I could fake it pretty damn good. In fact, I was a great problem solver, great engineer. And then what's more lucrative, working for Blue Cross Blue Shield and their claims processing division, like doing something that you're just part of a giant cog, or helping customers innovate and build new infrastructure and expand their businesses. That definitely appealed to me, but
sounds like more fun.
Being a great engineer is no substitute for being a quality business owner. And so
that's interesting. So how did that go about for you? Because you did it twice. You did it successfully.
I know, I was stupid enough to do it twice. Oh God,
dude, I did it 4 times, so don't worry.
I'm in good company. The first one was Break Fix. In 2001, it was Break Fix. And then 2007, Carl Palchuk Managed Services in a month. I read it. I implemented it. I flipped my entire client base, the ones that didn't come along. I sent them on their way to some trusted people that I was referring business to anyways. And the rest of them, I kept it intact. But every time that the business got to a point where I had to hire and accounting got more complicated and I had to consider insurance, and all of a sudden my clients are growing. And I had to make a choice. Do I hire? Do I invest money in this and that? I had no fucking clue what to do. It was a deer in headlights. The first time it came around and I saw my client base was just growing so fast. And I'm like, if I don't make a decision quickly on what to do and stick to it, then I'm going to lose my client base. And so I think I just scrambled and I built a best case for like, how can I sell my business? And this was early when MSPs it wasn't like as regular of a commodity. And I managed to work out a decent deal. And that's in 2010. And I managed to sell it to a larger MSP. I worked with them for 3 years and integrated my client base, expanded the service offering, do that whole thing, learned some chops from them. And then I started a backup disaster recovery business that was like a fart in the wind. I went to Dado's training camp and I thought I was going to sell backup disaster recovery to doctors all day long. HIPAA compliance penalties were looming and all this stuff. And I invested all my savings, and over 6 months, I learned doctors don't want to spend a penny on backup. They don't want to spend money on technology, period. So I had to scramble, start a new business. I had some old MSP clients that wanted me to take them back over. I was able to do it at a higher rate. I said, all right, I'll do that. And then next thing you know, I'm back in the MSP biz. And it got really big, really fast. It was great. But the same exact thing happened the second time around. Anyways, I could have used you guys. I would have. Looking back, I see the services that you guys provide as a clear answer to my failure to be able to run a business, period.
Well, and I think we've all been there. Joe and I have both failed enough times to have learned what to do the right way. Because it is a challenge. It's a real challenge to start a business, having the technical expertise, but to get out of the technical expertise. To run a business instead of do the work, and the complete mind shift.
It's not only that it's hard, at least the way it was for me, is that I didn't want to. I love doing the work, man. It was like Zen. It was like I was in the zone when I was doing the work, and you're in it and you're like, I'm going to solve this problem. And they don't even know they have this problem. And I'm going to tell them about it. And they're going to love me because I'm going to solve that problem. And you like get so into it. And then to give that up.
All that dopamine. You're just constantly being gifted dopamine because you're just like bing, bong, boom.
Yeah, all day long. And so you got to give that up in order to now go solve this other problem where you don't really know what you're doing. And it took me a while. Like now I feel that way about running the business, but that's not how it was in the beginning.
Yeah.
It was like, I want to go back to that other stuff. I know that. This is hard.
Yeah, I think that's really what happens. You go to the stuff that you know. I know that. I don't have to think so hard about that.
That scared the crap out of me. I didn't like anybody I talked to about doing that. I had a lot of people that felt confident. They're like, yeah, like I'll do the thing and I've got all the background. And these are people that mentored me and whatnot, but they didn't have the tech chops. And they're just like, yeah, like give me 40% of your business and I'll help you do it. I was just like, I don't even know what that looks like. So I bounced both times.
Which is why I think it does make sense to promote yourself first as CEO, do that. And then you can go back to the tech. But I do think that it is really hard to outsource from go running my business.
Yeah.
Because you just have to give up so much of your vision to get there.
Yeah. But I like how Jeff tried to throw the carrot. It was cute. It was cute what he did right now. I don't know if you noticed. It's first you upgrade yourself and then you can go back. Dude, you never go back.
I don't know, Joe. Sometimes you're just crawling under the desk and you're like, no, but I gotta tie up the cables.
That's true, but you never really go back. When I first really got it, I started hiring people that knew way more about all the new stuff that was coming. It was like back in 2002. And 2003 server had just popped and all that stuff. And we were moving out of server to that. And I was like, I'm not going to learn the new stuff. I'm just going to hire people. And that was a hard thing for me, but it was better than giving 40% of the business up to have somebody else come and run it. It was easier for me to say, you know what, I'm just going to hire people that are smarter than me and forget about trying to learn this new stuff. I'm going to focus on growing the business.
When you clearly had contracts or you had your revenue structured in a way that you could make that decision, I don't know how much pain that was for you, but for me, hiring was always a pain point because I was like, do I have enough money to hire? Yes, right now I do, but I've only got this much project work, and in 2 months that revenue is going to change and I don't know what's coming, and I didn't have the confidence. So it really scared me every time I hired somebody, and it worked out each time, but it was so scary. So scary.
Yeah. You can only hire when you have a process or a job for them to do. I think the mistake that so many people make is they hire labor They like hire people to do stuff with the assumption that they know what they're doing. And it's, hey, come into my business and go do. And they're like, okay. Or they go and they do it wrong. Like, no, that's not the way we do it around here. You got to teach me how to do it. But I think hiring without a process to explain people without a process for hiring and it might work at first.
What happens is that in the beginning, especially when you're small, you find people that you like and you get along with, and they
Yeah.
understand technically the stuff. So what happens is that they gravitate toward you and you gravitate toward them because you have a kind of shared similar values, and you're like, yeah, this is great. And when you have 2 or 3 people, it's easy to manage the mistakes and manage the stuff.
Yeah.
But once you get over 5, it gets really hard because now somebody comes and they jive with you, but they don't jive with the other person. So now you're having to deal with all this other stuff because you didn't have a hiring process that was filtering for values.
And then you figure out how to become an owner, and then you're going through life in a pretty okay way. And then you're like, you know what really sucks is printing. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to go manage the MSP channel for printing. That's a really great space to be. And so
It is absolutely the coolest thing I've done in my professional career. Look, I love nerding out and I love all the stuff that I did as an MSP. But so this company, Green Office Partner, was my preferred print vendor since 2011, right?
Yeah.
I had a product for everything. I had my BDR solution, my antivirus solution. I had cabling vendors I worked with. I had something for everything in my toolkit. And print vendors were not in the list because they were sharky and not reliable, and I never got a good feeling from them. These guys approached me and said, hey, introduce us to your customers. We'll pay you for an intro commission. We'll pay you money for every copy that's sold in the deal. And I was just like, at least they're not ignoring me. They seem okay. And I basically said, as long as you don't give me a reason not to make introductions, which I was expecting would happen within a month or two, as long as you don't give me a reason not to introduce you, I will keep introducing you. And I did, and it worked, and then I did, and it worked. And I'm working for this company. It turned out to be great just because anytime I had bigger clients or any clients asking about print, I didn't want to burn 3 hours trying to figure out what the right make and model was for their 10 location healthcare organization. I didn't want to figure out page counts. I don't want to advise them. I love advising them on everything else. Should you implement Power BI? Should you create an intranet? Should you replace your infrastructure? Like those things were super exciting. And those other things, I get paid on them. Talking about print, I'd lose money. So finally I say, hey, talk to these guys. Let them take the deal. And at the very least, they would make a recommendation on something. So it worked out. And in 2020, I'd sold my second MSP in 2018, and I was planning to separate and get into something else, and it was going to be tech. And these guys saw I was a gun for hire, and they asked me if I'd come on board. And my immediate answer was like, no way in hell. I'm not getting into the print biz. I love working with you guys, but I legitimately said, no way. That's the most ridiculous idea.
I think that's a really good indicator. Like when you're hiring somebody and you go to them like, this person's smart, this person's really going to work out, and you talk to them and they say absolutely not. That's probably a good indicator. You're like, oh wait, there's something here. I went to my wife once and I was like, I think we're going to move to South Africa. I think there'd be, and she said, no, I'm not moving to South Africa. That's how I knew it was a done deal. There was no way we weren't moving to South Africa, because it's like when you're definitive about something, that's when, you know, it's, I don't know, maybe hatred is closer to love or something. It's to flip you over. So anyway, so you go to them and you're like, no, I'm not doing print partners.
Not happening.
I'm like, what would I even do for you? I've got this bright future in technology doing something big in IT. And then they were really convincing. And I thought about it. And over a weekend, I conceived of the entire print partner concept. I purchased the domain. I created the logo. I staged the whole website, and I had it crystallized. Literally, like everything that we're doing today, crystallized in my mind. And it's just been there ever since. And I pitched it to them on Monday. They had no clue what I was talking about. They were like, it sounds like it might be a good idea. You sound like you have a lot of faith in it. Let's give it a shot. And so here we are. And so year one, we brought in over $1 million in revenue to the company. Year two, it's just been growing and growing. We're in year three. We're really focusing on high tier Class A, Class B MSPs, $20 to $50 million MSPs that have these massive networks of customers that have multi-site, multi-location print needs. And we're crushing it. And it's so much fun. This relationship between the MSP and a print vendor is something that's never existed like this before. And to help facilitate these relationships and show MSP what an alternate to just being complacent and letting random print vendors operate in their client environments, the alternative to that is fantastic. It's really cool.
I lost a couple of clients because a rando print vendor would come in and start working with the client, then they were offer their MSP services in and way back in the day. So then I got really selective about my printer vendor.
Yeah.
And then eventually I found a company that I really liked, and then I bought it. And so we
Yes,
were
that's
doing
right.
printers.
That's right.
You remember we were doing printers. So we
Yeah.
did printers forever because that was the reason, because I got stung and I'm like, that's not going to happen again. So I went and I started looking. I found a company, I bought it, and we brought print in house. We had 3 full-time printer technicians, and that's all we did. Because
Joe, you're a rare breed.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and that's a very smart thing to do. Most MSP don't have what it
Oh
takes
my
to
God,
do
what it
print.
takes is brutal. It's brutal.
But the revenue's fantastic.
Oh yeah, it was great fun. We made lots of money with it, and we were able to get into other accounts that way, where we
Yes.
were the printer vendor. I got like $150,000 a year account that way in the first year. And then afterwards, we got into a bunch of other big law firms and stuff like that, because we were doing a fleet of printers, 200 printers.
And what you
Yeah.
just described is
Yeah.
exactly why I think Print Partner has been so well received, is because, so you did the reverse playbook, where as an MSP, you bought a print company.
Yeah.
And then used the print company to go in and get MSP businesses.
Happened to me. I wasn't
Yeah.
gonna let it happen again.
That's typical nowadays. And anybody that's taken the time to listen to this will agree that like every print vendor out there, especially in the light of lost revenues during COVID, but even for the past 5-6 years up to that, they've just been seeing a decrease in print volume, and they all freaked out and they're like, what else can we do to replace that lost revenue? Managed services. So I'm either going to buy an MSP or I'm going to stand up my own shaky MSP in-house.
Yeah.
We're just going to tell everybody it's so easy. It's a black box. No business owner is going to know if you're a quality MSP or not. If you have a good sales team, which,
Especially if you've been doing a good job on their printers for all these years. And
oh
you can say,
yeah,
hey, look at all the great stuff that I've been doing for you.
yeah, printers are absolutely a great indicator on how well they could do on infrastructure and network security. But it happens. And also another important thing is print organizations are sales organizations primarily. MSPs are service organizations primarily. So you get a sales organization that has a robust sales team that's got quotas to hit every month and this and that, and say, hey, here's a new catalog of services to offer your clients. Go get them.
They'll eat
Okay.
your lunch.
That's how it goes.
How do you work with the MSPs? How do you support them? And do you work with MSPs that are smaller than $20 million? I guess we should start there.
Yeah. Since the beginning, we're reaching out to every and any MSP that would join us. We're now over 450 MSP referral partners that we're working with nationwide in the United States. We just got a license in Canada. We're going to be
Awesome.
expanding into Canada this year at some point. And we are the first Xerox vendor authorized in their multi-channel support program, which means that big print vendors in Europe and all over the world, if they have American clients, they bring those clients to us to help continue the relationship and extend it into the United States.
Excellent.
But the question is, do we work with a smaller MSP? And the answer is yes. We work with any MSP. In fact, a good number of the MSP that our current referral partners are between $1 and $5 million in sales. And they have brought us some fantastic opportunities.
Yeah.
So yeah, the simple answer is yes.
So does the MSP basically just refers their clients to you, you pay them a commission, and that's how it works?
It's that simple. Our focus has been this year is on developing the relationship between our sales reps that we attach or tether to the MSP. We have a one-to-one relationship. If your MSP signs up, that day we associate your MSP to a specific sales rep, and that week they get in touch with you and we have a conversation just about, hey, business, and how can we show the most value to you? Kind of a relationship conversation, not talking necessarily about print, but just what's your business needs, this, that, and the other. What are your goals for this year? And then we just figure out how can we best service your MSP. And then we try to see if we can guide that MSP to making introductions to the accounts that would be the most meaningful for both their business and our business. So we're getting better and better at helping MSP identify the opportunities that are going to be high quality opportunities. And also it's just saying, hey, because a lot of MSP are like, I've got 150 customers. Who
Where
do
do
I
I start?
introduce to you? We can make quick work of that with you through a conversation. And the relationship is this: you sign up. It takes 2 minutes to sign up. It's a 100-year non-compete that we sign at the same time, saying that we will only offer print and print management and print solutions to your customers. We will not, and we can't operate in the MSP space. We don't have any sister company that does MSP behind the corner or whatever. All we focus on is print. And then the MSP simply has to spend, after they sign up, you spend 2 minutes registering any opportunities, or you spend some time talking with our sales rep. And then when you have an opportunity, register it. It takes 2 minutes. You can then spend 5 minutes on the phone with the rep when they call you to talk about the opportunity, and then you can be out if you want. Or we have one MSP recently introduced us to a health care organization. It started out as a 6-copier opportunity in California. They spent about an hour chaperoning that introduction and facilitating it. That they got an $8,000 check for that introduction within 3 months. And then we quickly sold to 2 other locations. And within 6 months, they had earned over $20,000 in commission, because we pay $1,000 for every copier that's sold in a deal. And that's for the lifetime of the relationship. So if we sell something, they grow, add new locations next month or next year, they open 20 new locations, we do the thing, that could be $20,000 in your pocket. It's
Yeah.
really fun to see this stuff happen. We just landed a 450 device customer through an MSP. Just closed last week.
So what is it? $1,000? $1,000
Per copier. So it's not a 450 copier. Right now it's around 70 copiers. And then the rest of it is a variety of desktop devices. And we're taking the whole thing under management. So it's not just the copiers, but every single print related issue is coming into our support desk now.
That's 70 grand just off the copiers.
Yeah, exactly. Once they sign up with you, nothing ever goes wrong.
Of course, man, we're perfect. Actually, man, print is the worst. It's still the worst. When it comes to print, you're always dealing with a vendor. So you have to manage really closely your relationship with Xerox, with HP. As a former MSP, anytime I had to call a print vendor for support on something, it's not fun.
Oh,
Our team takes over that whole role. And so it's like herding cats sometimes, because we've got tons of support calls coming in. Our support team, the director of service, he's a former MSP. He built and sold an MSP, and he's also a Harvard graduate, and he's got lots of brains. And he's the right avatar to be in that thankless role of what have you done for me lately? And we are managing and facilitating thousands of support requests between HP and Xerox all the time. And it's all the follow-up, and it's making sure that their engineers are going to show up at the right time with the customer as we agreed on, and this and that and the other. So sometimes it's a nightmare. Sometimes our manufacturers disappoint us and we have to do relationship management. I guess the most important thing that our MSP referral partners will say is when the fire starts and the client's getting salty, our response is on point. We're not looking to blame. We're not looking to avoid what's going on. If we need to, we'll fly people around the country to get it resolved. We'll put as much heat on Xerox as we can to get it what it is. We'll send our own equipment out if we need to, just to make sure that the issue is met head on.
And that's really the important thing, because I think perfection is probably a high bar, but it's having, I like the way you put it, right? It's an on-point response. It depends on the situation, and you do the thing that you have to do there without blame, without the notorious, it's pointing fingers around the printer. Hey, it's the software, it's the printer, it's the guy who supplied the paper, and just getting to the answer, putting pressure on Xerox.
Another thing is that's typical is when one of the places that we shine, and it's probably the most important, like the commission's great, but consistently the highest feedback we get from our referral partner base is the collaboration.
Yeah.
In the typical MSP scenario, your customer calls up, oh, like I'm the admin for the CEO and our copier here isn't working, and can you fix it? And the MSP is sure, we'll open the support call with your print vendor, because we may or may not have their support information handy. But we'll open up that call. So they call up the print vendor. Hey, we got a situation. We need it resolved as soon as possible, blah, blah, blah. The print vendor's like, gotcha, we'll take care of it. We'll have somebody out there tomorrow. Nobody shows up tomorrow. Nobody shows up the next day. Then all of a sudden it's a huge emergency at the client, and the client calls your MSP back and says, what is going on? I called you guys. I can't depend on you. You're not doing anything. And you're like, man, I called the print vendor. I have to pay
And
my
that's
team.
that's really the thing that I love about what you're talking about is that you're managing that relationship. That was our problem. That's why we ended up buying a printer company because you couldn't rely on what the print vendor said. When I was a print vendor, then I really got it. Oh, this is a mess.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And,
what we were able to do is really bring in the lessons that we learned in the MSP side
yes.
to be able to manage that stuff. And we did a lot of what you guys are talking about, which is you send your own equipment and you get them going because it's what a lot of MSPs don't get about all of it is that it's just, you got to get the client up and running, solve their problem
Yeah.
first. So there's really one thing that I love about everything that you're talking about. Is we tell our clients all the time, you have to niche. You have to niche. You have to get down and own that niche, right?
100%.
And you guys did that.
Thank you for seeing that.
You're not doing anything else. So me as the MSP, if I'm the recipient of your service and I know that's all you do 100% and you got my back, and then it's a pleasure to deal with it because I know that my client is in good hands and that's one less worry for me.
Yeah.
To go deal with that. And I can't tell you, that was like one of my biggest, like I always had a problem with that, especially after we took a hit. Right. And it was
Yep.
early on that I took a hit. And then I was like, okay, that's not going to happen anymore. But it's so cool. So I really love what you're doing. And I love that you're so niche.
And it makes it so much easier for the buyer to buy when you've got a niche, right? And you're looking at it. We know exactly what you do. It's clear. We know exactly when we need to bring you in for print partners, and we know exactly what you're going to do when you're going to do it. So it makes it so easy to work with somebody that has a well-defined niche and you're really freaking good at that one thing that you do.
Yeah.
It just makes it a pleasure. Whereas
Yeah.
it's so much harder to work with people. And I do everything. Like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
print vendors who do MSP work, Joe.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he said those magical words, 100-year non-compete.
What happens in the 101st year? You think coming after my clients?
Yeah, and my digital avatar is gonna whatever my uploaded Google core will be
Yeah.
like.
See, I think this is the actual. He's not letting on here, but on that 101st year, he's going after everybody.
Yeah.
100%.
And you know what? It's going to be all run by Chat GPT
That's right. We will,
in a distributed network of print and MSP global takeover.
and it'll be some digital representation of our minds having this conversation because I think physically we're not going to be here 100 years from now.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's probably unlikely. Hey, Mitch, this is really a great conversation. One of the things that we like to end with is giving the MSPs a piece of advice. I think we've given them a few pieces of advice, but if there was one message that you could etch into the brain of every MSP in America, what would that be? What is the thing that they need to know?
I'll offer two things. One, for my benefit, stop letting random print vendors operate in your client environments. Just know the vendors, know who they are at the very least. If you don't have a print partner that you can trust, find one. It doesn't have to be us. Just find somebody.
I love that.
And then separately, just from an MSP level, like, man, after having gone through, the real anguish of owning and running an MSP, if you're stuck now in 2023, if you're stuck and you're feeling the burden, take advantage of the resources that are available to you to find a way out of it. And Start Grow Manage is just one of those resources that could help you. And just don't wait. Do it. The sooner you start, the better off you're going to be.
That's really true. And I think obviously we help MSPs, but you have to work with somebody that you like and that you get along with. And there are a lot of different people who have different perspectives and different ways of doing things. And you can find the solution and the approach that works with you. And you can also make a mistake and do something else. But the thing that never works is to do nothing. The thing that never works is to hold back and just wait until everything magically comes into place. And all of a sudden you have that life you wanted, but you haven't sought the tools to make it happen. So I think that's really take action, find the tools, get the support with us, with you, with somebody else, whoever it is, get the support, because there are a lot of ways to do it, but doing nothing is not an option. We will put the link to join. So it's a 2-minute sign up, right? That's going to be in the show notes. That's at printpartner.biz/join.
That's it.
And you say you've got a $250 commission for the introduction, regardless of outcome.
That's right. Or 500 if you can get us a copy of your customer's current print agreement. We'll pay you 500 for the same introduction, even if they decide they don't want to work with us 20 minutes into the dialogue.
Nice, because that way you actually can tell what their real problem is, and you can go in and talk about their problem. So once you have that print agreement, so we'll put that link down there, and then sell a couple of copiers, and you're off and running with some great commissions. And they will call somebody else for all of those print problems, which
yeah, no, they'll still call you. They'll still call your MSP, but you grind on it for 5 minutes and then kick it to us.
They're still going to call, but the beauty of being able to hand it off is magical.
All right, guys. Mitch, thank you very much.
And remember that you are loved.
Thanks for joining us, and a special thanks to our subscribers. Consider becoming one right now and tap into our insights and instincts to help drive your business vision and success. Remember, you didn't start your business to feel frustration. You started it for freedom. We can help you discover the impact, freedom, and wealth you always imagined. Learn more at startgrowmanage.com/learn more.